Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
April 6, 2014. Today, when we were following or trying to follow Rose, there was a segment at the end where the internet was sputtering or something, and she wasn't moving, and then she was, and then her voice was cutting in and out. And I observed myself observing this and, going with it, but noticing it like, oh, now it's the internet or whatever. And then I had this thought of the distance that this signal was traveling to us and how incredible it all is. So at that moment, I had the choice of focusing on what was wrong with our connection rather than how amazing it is that we have a connection at all. I had this vision of us on the road driving the 12 hours to get here. And I saw the deserts and the LA traffic and all of the things that are very daunting to me, and the up and down, and sometimes the snow and the ice. And we saw a documentary last night about the Lewis and Clark expedition from Missouri to Oregon. Didn't realize that they ended up in Oregon, where they were miserable because it rained every day in the winter except for one or something. But anyway, it was in Astoria, close to you. But looking at what they had to go through in order to get there. And we are not quite that distant. But that took them, what, 2.5 years or something?
Round trip. Yeah.
Round trip. And here we are in the second. And there's some part of me that's annoyed because there's a glitch. And that seems so symbolic to me of something, but what? It's one could be how we have a tendency to focus on the negative because we're always feeling what's disruptive, and that's normal, but kind of a pain in the ass. But what really struck me was the words that kind of serendipitously came out of my mouth earlier, is that we are upset by the glitches in our connection rather than being amazed that we have them at all. And I feel the tears coming up as I say that, because we humans have been so programmed to suspect, dominate, compete, separate for so long. And I, for one, am very impatient with myself when I see that kind of energy in me or in James or in anybody. And I fail to marvel at the fact that we're even trying to do it any differently. One thing, for example, which is so obvious with us here, the we that Rose was talking about, great job, Rose, is that we are so determined to stay connected that we have been going through this Mishigas for a long time to try to include people on the video conferencing and now include us. And we're determined to make it work. We are staying connected. We are so blessed and so fortunate that the technology we have is so amazing. Helen is in my garage in California sending me a text about something going on at my house. And I get that text, and well, she knows better than to focus on texting with me, but she sends me a lot of emails, and since I'm usually glued to my computer, I email her back. And in 30 seconds, we've communicated. I mean, think about the times when, people would go from Europe or Africa or Asia to the quote new world, or anywhere traveling across the seas, and how long it would take for one letter to get across the ocean. And she would not have an instant answer about what do you want me to do with the blue chair. And yet we so take that for granted. And I think that we also take for granted the wonderful feeling of love and connection. I don't know if it is. Okay. The wonderful feeling of love and connection that we have been able to achieve on such a consistent basis among us. And when there is a disruption, which there always is, we are shocked, upset, and get pissed. I do. So why don't we take a moment to acknowledge not only the incredible advantages that technology is giving us to allow us all to be in our rightful place, that allows Bob, for example, to be at our spiritual service despite physical disability, or people's geographic issues, or whatever it is. I don't know why Amy is doing this by video, but whatever.
Because I have to leave really early after the service.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
before the end.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying. So, but that the technology is enabling her to participate at all. And let's just, be grateful for that. But also, at the same time, let's be grateful for the amount of effort we make to be together, to overcome the ingrained egoic patterns that have dominated us and humanity for millennia. Sometimes we despair. I know I do. We read the news. We look outside our door. Sometimes we look at ourselves. And we see the needless pain that is caused by separation, that we have all become habituated to, that humanity has. And we think this will never end. And maybe it won't. But it already has. And I want to look at that. The other day, James and I had a wonderful experience. There is a fellow from Australia who contacted us, and they have a men's spiritual awareness group in Australia that's Reading Living with Reality. They're taking the next year to do weekly studies of the book. And he also has something that he's a proponent of.
Yes.
Which is a game, a conversation game to get people to communicate. Well, in some ways, we streamers, we talk so openly that, but it was fun to use his process. But what was extraordinary was it was just 4 of us. Barry, a woman from another part of Australia,
Southern Australia.
and James and me, and we used the game. And what was wonderful really was listening to them talking about, their answers. The game is kind of like you ask, you pick a card, and what does this card have to do with you, or how do you answer this question in relation to this card, or whatever. And in listening to the answers, you could feel the oneness of all of us who are really trying to become more self-aware and to overcome our separation. I loved it. I loved sitting there knowing that here are two people in Australia. They have a different program. They have some different beliefs, but they're working on it, just like we are. And we know that's happening all over the world. People are working on overcoming negativity and separation. Now, are there going to be blips? We had another experience last week of a very different kind, where I interviewed someone who had said she was open to me asking anything, and the moment I asked something the least bit new for her, she shut down. Now, which of those experiences do you think has stayed with me this week?
The former.
No.
Oh, the latter.
The latter. That's right, number 2. The shit, right? The shit instead of the peace. So I've given more thought. I had that moment of excitement and I shared it with the game, and I felt really great. But something that comes back in my head was the second one. I don't want to do that anymore. We have had so many technical challenges trying to put this together. And sometimes we spend more time trying to deal with the technology and talk to each other than we actually do saying anything. But our effort to stay connected speaks volumes. And how often do we say, well, out of 2 hours, 1 hour and 15 minutes, we actually were able to communicate? No, we tend to think, well, we spent 45 minutes trying to get this thing together. This is not easy. The energy of disconnection, separation, remains dominant on this planet. And even often dominates in our most intimate relationships. Let us start being amazed at how well we do, rather than despair at how hard it is. I feel complete with what I've just shared. And I know that today marks the conclusion, or I've been told that today marks the conclusion of packing up Streamhaven and getting it ready for its new owners. I understand from Helen that most everything has already been done, thanks to the incredible efforts made by all of you. And that there is just a few things left to be done today. If there were internet still at the other Stream Haven, I would have asked Todd to bring the computer over and for us to do a ceremony together. But we'll have to do it in our imaginations now. And I believe that people have been invited to stay after the service to go to Stream Haven and perhaps do the release process, which James and I have already done personally. But today, as a community, here together, since interestingly enough, there's no newcomers.
No newcomers today.
What was that?
We couldn't hear you, so we repeated what you said.
Oh, thank you. And Lee is no longer a newcomer. In fact, we got to know Lee, I think it was last week, and that was a delight. Now that we know him better, we know how much he is one of our relations. And so is this Barry in Australia, and the woman who was on the program on doing the game with us, who she invited us to offer a program in Australia the next time we drop by. Little does she know that a trip to the kitchen is a big deal as far as I'm concerned. So, and so interesting too, that we have people here today who were here in the beginning of the stream. Erica, 1983. Mary Chris, August 1984, at our first retreat, when she was a young woman. I mean, really young, like 19 or something.
Wow.
And then Irene and Annie and Helen later on in 84, 85, all the way up to Lee, who is our newest comrade in arms, in disarms. And how fabulous is that, that we have people who came during different times, and that somehow or other there is this core group that is still here. To honor this transition of the stream in form, but not in intention. Our intention is always the same, which is to overcome the domination of the energy of separation. And to create a world of mutual support in which each one of us can give what we have and receive what we need, as Rose was foretelling in her life force today. Nothing has changed. In the best sense of the word. So let us, just as I was seeing those great miles between us, let's now look at the many years that we have spanned. And for those of you who were not in the beginning, to let your minds travel back I was living in Glendale, California when I started the stream, and there was nobody there. And even when I was guided to call the work the stream, which I think was back in 83 or 82, somewhere in there, the stream was not about the people, it was about the work. It wasn't specific, it wasn't personal, it wasn't form. It was processes, it was essence, it was intention. And as I was guided at that time to say what the stream was, as I know you have all heard this before, is that it's the process of becoming who you already are. And that does not mean that we're already perfect, does it?
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean we have unlimited potential, does it? It means it's the process of becoming who we already are in an essential way that we cannot do without healing, training, and mutual support. Community. Healing, training, community, the three words that are on the themes of the new Mega website, which may or may not ever show up. That's what it is. That we cannot become who we are without healing, training, and community. And so from the very beginning, the stream was the work, and the work was the healing process. And the work was the training, the teaching, the training of our consciousness. And it became the community. People popped up and wanted to stay without me ever having thought, oh, I think we should create a community. It just happened. Now, a coincidence has just occurred to me. Are people with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. This was all very unexpected, but I feel deeply what I'm talking about and deeply connected to the spirit of it all. The other day we were asking what was the name of our new home, and we had been all around the block on it. And we had guidance to connect to the spirit of the new home. And when we connected to the spirit of the new home, we would know what the name was. So, you know, our car is called Lexi. It's a Lexus, so it's Alexis is the name, and Lexi is the and our motorhome is Vanessa Van Gogh. So it seems like we have a lot of female names in there. And when we connected to the house, what came to me was the word Abby, which is also a name, but it's more than a name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's similar in that it's something objective and it's also a personal name. And we didn't know why the name was Abby. It was confusing. So we looked in Wikipedia, and you know, we weren't sure that it was just that's the name that kept coming to me. Abby, for those of us who are familiar, like saying, you know, we're going to get Abby painted or serviced or something. But if we ever did something up here, it would be we're holding it at the Abbey.
Mm-hmm.
And first once we really questioned the religious connotation of abbey and the monastery connotation, all that, but we did more research. And abbey, really, when you think about it, it's really a place where people are who are dedicated to living a spiritual life, a spiritually oriented life. Not in that abstract, disconnected way that we've known as, unfortunately, a lot of religious spirituality, even not just religious, but in a very grounded way. But really being retrained in many, many ways. That was the intention. And the original abbey was evidently sprung up accidentally with some guy. Do you remember what century that was?
It was around 1000 AD.
Okay, around 1000 AD is what James is remembering. And he was a spiritual guy, and he went into the forest, or he went off to, and then people gathered around him, and then suddenly there was a community. And it had not been his intention. And of course, in later years, we have big monasteries and very fancy, and hundreds, thousands, whatever, and then corruption, and then recommitment and all that stuff. But when we look at the pictures, and I know in one of the events, I think it was the spiritual service, we looked at the pictures of the abbey. It's a compound. It has a home for us, and it has this annex has the guest quarters and the workshop room and the garages and all of that, and they're connected by a breezeway. And you look through the fence. We look through the fence a lot because we're not always on the inside. We're usually sneaking over. And we're looking through the chain link fence, and it feels like there's a compound in there. And in a way, we are still that, because whatever energy I have carried all these years has attracted a following. Whatever the teachings were, whatever the process was, has attracted a small band. Granted, but who cares, right? And I never intended to create a community, but it kind of happened because you guys and many people before you, because each person who 31, 32 years, each one contributed to what the stream is today. There are people who were with us for years in the past who brought some of the people who are here in this room now. They're not here, but you are. Or they contributed with their energy to keep this community growing and flowing. And so let's recognize the hundreds of people who have been here in the stream, the Triple I Foundation, as part of our evolution, which we are enjoying today. And hopefully they've carried forward. Sometimes I hear from a former client who says, I'd like a tune-up. I haven't seen you in 5 years. And she'll say, I got this from you and from the stream or from the Triple I Foundation, and I'm still using it. And so the new home is still a place, and perhaps the place, from which we are still generating the energy that is the foundation of what we're doing. And one of the great things about the old abbeys is that people didn't necessarily live in the same house. And it wasn't a church. There was some holy person, not me, by the way, some holy person, right? And then people lived around in their own places, and it was very modest. And I thought, my goodness, if you think about that, we are really the collective. We are still the Abbey, in that sense. We still have that purity of intention. And we still have the center of which is wherever that energy is generated. But that center can still be diffused. It could be coming from something that's going on at the Benton House, at Bob and Carol's, at Irene and Kathy's, Christopher and Elizabeth, Chris, anyone can become the center of that abbey at any given moment based on the connection that you're feeling to the energy that has inspired us even when we didn't know it. And we have felt guided to transform the workshop area into something usable, to create the space for something to happen, if it ever does. And so Streamhaven was the old center where we were all together. And now we have a new center, no less powerful, based on the energetic teaching, spiritual, emotional connections that we are able to sustain because we are now capable of that, because we have worked so hard over so many years that we are more capable to overcome the energy of separation than we were even just a few years ago. And now we can have a community that is not geographically based in one place or in one house. This is evolution. We can do this because of how much we have grown internally. And we love the fact that the streamers are going to be doing events at different people's homes. Mm-hmm. Because that's the community. And the Abbey can still be a central point where we may, if it feels right, gather in person to reconnect to the source of the stream that gave birth to us. Even if none of you ever comes up, we could broadcast from that workshop room. If we can get some heat or air conditioning, get rid of the smell of oil and few minor details.
Well, you could have streamers from where you live too join us.
We never know.
Yeah.
This is the spiritual connection. That we have, and that we have with all of our relations, whether we know them or not. I see a hand.
It just came to me that perhaps it's a press release. You know, I was just thinking about all the people that you were describing over the years that come and go with you, you know, and maybe there's some people in Oregon that need to know you're there now. And that we are there now.
Well, if we can develop the group room for the Abbey, we can do that. We can invite people. And we can also, as the stream, know that we have that facility available for the future. And there could be a press release down where you are as well.
Hey, I want to share something too, that yesterday on my email, I got a meetup notification from a Portland-based intuitive counseling group. I didn't know they existed, but they're calling themselves Intuitive Counseling Group, and it's I don't know if it's a training or just support, or I don't know what it is, but it exists and it's got the same name, Intuitive Counseling. So maybe a press release in this area wouldn't be a bad idea either.
Now there's an idea too that has come. The many people who call themselves intuitive counselors are actually like psychics, but you never know. I think it would be worthwhile for you to find out more about them. We have been led to keep our motorhome despite the expense.
Oh.
And the one who's led us to that is Mojo.
Mojo.
Mojo is frantic in the car and is freaked out to be left alone, but he's fine in the motorhome. And
It gives them heat in the winter and air conditioning in the summer.
because there are extreme temperatures here, which we didn't have to deal with in Bonsall. So we have accepted that. The motorhome isn't great for living in, but it's great to travel. You know, we could go to Eugene or we could go to Portland,
Right.
possibly, yes. And, you know, we just really don't know what the future is. But I'd like us, that's very exciting. By the way, there is someone who advertises intuitive hypnotherapist in Ashland. So who knows? But what I'd like us to all really grasp today, that as we're letting go of the form of Streamhaven, is that this really is a momentous time for us because it's in the next evolutionary stage, and that we have not lost our center. That the center has always been the work. And you have not lost me either, much as you might secretly hope that you have. But I've just moved deeper into the forest. To be closer to the source of the stream, which is the mountains. And we discovered by doing the well flow test this week that the Abbey has a well flow of 20 gallons per minute, which, if you know anything about wells, is a lot. People are happy if they get 4 or 5. That means we're near the source of the water, even though we don't have a stream on our property. That water is coming underground from the mountain. And interestingly enough as well, where we are moving is actually closer to California, but further drive. But geographically, the crow was flying because we are fed part of the Siskiyou mountain range, which is the mountains that connect, not divide, California and Oregon.
Hmm. Exciting.
I think it is. So have no expectations on the outside, but feel the excitement on the inside. So now I'd like to invite the community to comment on anything that I've said today, or to go forward with this conversation about allowing the center to move from the everybody in mommy's house to the real community, the real Abbey as it originally was designed, where people are living in their own homes but gathered together by a spiritual intention.
I like that phrase.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to share that today was right on the head for me. Just the tendency of focusing on the negatives is, just so in our nature. And I think for me, just the environment I grew up in was just enforced even more so. So I appreciate the reminder of focusing on what is positive. Because I still want to share that, we're talking about having services or workshops in our homes, and I love that idea. And I felt such a heartwarming feeling from Christopher, because he's been the one to make sure, we signed up for an internet to make sure we got it. Well, what we got didn't work. He called, he upgraded it. And, he's putting forth all this energy to make sure that we can have functions in our home. Even though he's not here today and he's saying all these things, it's like, well, but wait a minute, look at his actions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 He's looking to the future. Yeah. That is exciting.
Oh, somebody found her way. Come here. Come here, girl. I had a dream last night that you'd actually moved to Washington State further. And that what happened is Todd, what's that?
I said, you never know.
You never know. And though what happened is that Todd started getting involved in this Aji-like thing where it was all about money, and he went into this old way. And so I think I had this fear, like, without you here, like, you need to make sure you're here to fix my husband, or it's bad things are going to happen. So I think it was just surfacing that for me, that when Todd pointed out to me when I told him my dream, that it's really the opposite that continues to happen with him. And but it was a fear that surfaced, and I thought was interesting. And I also love that what you're saying about the spiritual center. It's like we're all connected on a certain plane of existence, including with the relations we don't even know yet. And that's good to bring. I feel like I'm getting more capable of doing that, especially when I travel out of town. Like last week, I'll travel again this week, and I'll travel again the following week. And I need to be able to do that, just to stay grounded and not have it all be about having to be here or there or wherever in order to be well. And then the other thing, I think it's going to take, like Elizabeth mentioned, like focusing on the negative. I mean, I am so that, still, with work, whatever good things happen, if something bad happens, like I'm all over it and I'm just like worried about it. So I'm sure that's kind of hard to completely overcome, since we're human beings and there's a kind of a nature within us to do that. but we can support each other to remember. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is I noticed today the way that James has been looking at Beth, and it's really sweet. Yeah. It's been just, I don't know, there's something that's changed. It's been very adoring, and yeah. So I just wanted to point that out and acknowledge it. It's really cute.
He's getting a new laptop, that's why.
No, it's because she's partly on my lap as we speak.
Yeah. you
Yeah.
can't- my legs are all over him.
The sound.
Here's my laptop.
I love the journey you took us on starting in Glendale. I love that, and I love, you know, remembering Erica and Mary Chris being there, and you know, knowing that there's the ebb and the flow, you know, people coming and going, and connecting back to some of the people who were here when I met you, and who had been here a long time, and I felt like the newcomer, you know, and I remember that feeling, and you know, them moving on with their journey in life didn't end our evolution, nor does it end their evolution, you know, and I love both of those things. Yesterday, packing up your clothes brought up, you know, some emotion for me, you know, the hat from Jonathan's wedding, and your mom's hat, you know, you brought out at different times, and you know, just seeing an old shirt you've had for a long time, you know. I felt like when you moved to Oregon with Jonathan, you know, it was kind of like the energy that I was left with at the time was that Beth is moving on with her life, and it wasn't, we didn't have this dream, we didn't have this community, and you know, you've left a few times, but you keep coming back. Like, I remember when you came back and you'd stay at Chris Griffin's house, and we'd have the events at Erica and Dave's house and all that, and I know there's part of me that just keeps holding on to, like, you know, you'll have to come back because you can't make it on your own. You know, I know that there's that part of me that still holds on to that. And I don't want to hold on to it, you know. I love seeing that you two are thriving. You know, I love seeing the energy between the two of you, and it is really palpable. It's different. And I really want to be open to how things can evolve, you know, what new people could come into our lives, you know, what new experiences we all could have. And I don't want to hold on to wanting you to suffer so you could come back to be here. It's not a good thing to hold on to. I spent a little bit of time yesterday. I was the last person in the house yesterday when we were done packing, just happened to work out that way. And I walked around and I was feeling this energy of, you know, again, this is veering towards the negative. I was feeling this energy of disappointments and, you know, dreams that didn't materialize. You know, and I remembered when you moved over there and we first had that community event, and we had a bunch of people there from the community, and I was the president of the board of directors then too, and you know, I had to let go of, you know, the pain I had of that. It didn't turn out to be the center where we could build the barn into something more, or we could build the whatever that area was called into something more. You know, I had to, like, consciously let the negative thoughts come up yesterday so I could release them. And I walked around, you know, the beautiful space that Christopher created for Christopher and Elizabeth's home, you know, their kitchen and the laundry room. And I thought about, you know, exactly what you just shared, Elizabeth, that Christopher put so much into that, you know, and in between the conflict, look what was created, you know, and to let go of the idea that it's like dreams that didn't materialize. And instead I want to hang on to the energy of look what happened, look what was created, and look how we all did evolve. You know, and I was in the downstairs room where we first had the workshops, and you know, I have such a fond feeling for that room, you know, and all the work we did there when we went through all the Living with Reality workshops and, you know, the pathos and the pain and the laughter, you know, and the insanity and how we all move through it. And, you know, I want to feel all of it. You know, I do. You know, and the truth is, like, I don't miss your husband, your ex-husband, Jonathan. You know, I don't miss Chris Griffiths. You know, I mean, and while we were all in each other's lives, it was, you know, it was how it was supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? And there's no past that was better. It just was a different experience. You know, I don't miss those people who aren't doing CBC with us because they're not supposed to be here. You know, but it was great when we were doing it together. Do you know what I mean? That feeling. And I just, you know, I personally want to support you guys. You know, to just whatever's supposed to happen with your life and to open it up and whatever we can do to keep helping you. You know, and of course I want to come see you. But mostly I want to come see you because it's selfish. I just want to be with you. I do miss not being able to see you here. I do miss it. And I kind of hold on to Irene as my alternative. And just so you know, when you're unpacking your clothes, if they're not, the boxes aren't all labeled right, it was me. And if James wants to get rid of any of his Hawaiian shirts, you send them on back because I like them. I like them. He has a lot of them. He doesn't need them all. She doesn't like them. I like them a lot.
I think James looked kind of rakish in those shorts. So.
Exactly. That's why I like them. Exactly why I like them.
You know what? When everything popped into, I'm so glad that you're sharing all of that, Chris. I think you're speaking for all of us in some ways.
Yes, I do too.
And I want to remind you something. When I went to Oregon before, what Chris is talking about was back in 1997. And then I came back to California in 2001. And God made me do it. God said I had to come back to California for 5 years. Another lie. But what happened was, it's true, this Triple I Foundation had come to a close. There was really nothing happening for me, and I've always wanted to live in Oregon. Ever since I heard the name, I just had this feeling. And then I would see the trees, and I thought, oh my God, you know, that's where I belong. I belong in the forest. And but when I went in 97, remember that in 1999, the same time I got divorced from that ex-husband, he was my last ex-husband. I like that. There aren't going to be any more. God told me to start the stream again. God said in 1999, call your work the stream again. Start the stream again. And the stream had dissolved in, I don't know, like in 86, and then we had become the Healing Partnership, and then with Triple I Foundation. There's always been a lot of evolution. And again, I was sitting in the middle of the forest on Wagner Creek Road in this tiny little manufactured home with this huge creek going through it. And there was nothing happening. I mean, nothing. I was starving. And, you know, just a few phone sessions, because that's all we had then, was the phone. And we had a group, the old master class, remember, that we kept going every 2 months. And Casey was in it, and Carrie, and some really odd people who stuck with it. And then I did. And I'll never, Helen said, just don't get me involved. Whatever you do, I don't have anything to do with it. I'll say to you, Beth, but not the stream. And
look at you now.
And that year, I think it was in '99. that we had a retreat. And that retreat was spurred by people who are no longer here. Most of them, who was at that retreat?
I was there. It was Chris Griffiths and Joy, or whatever her name was, Harmony or Joy or something, and
July?
Oh, July. Okay. And that woman from
Terry.
who?
Derek.
Terry Davis was there. Who has been with us but who died. And then there was you, and then there was that Kay from Oceanside. And I think it was just the 5 of you. And look at that. You know, that was spurred by Chris and Kay, who aren't even here. And they are the ones who got that going. And it was because of that to California. And so the message there is not that I'm going to move back again, but that when you asked me, I was there.
Uh-huh.
I can't respond to the request that isn't made. And I know there's been some good discussions about some regrets that we might have had about not using me or Streamhaven to its fullest potential in the past. But what's so valuable about that is sometimes people have held on to me for things that they did not need and have not asked me for things that they did need and that I had.
Yes.
And I'd love that to change. So remember, I cannot give what I haven't been asked for. And if you really don't want me to be gone, then you just need to ask me to be there in the way that I can and should, and that would be most mutually supportive for all of us.
I'd like to go next since I have to leave my house shortly. Well, 2 things. I'm so glad that Chris said what she said, because I think I started to disengage from you and say, well, I don't miss you, rather than feel it. And when I walked into your room, which first of all, I never walked into my parents' room, and started to look at your things, which reminded me of when I started to pack my mom's things. And thank God Helen was there. I walked out, I said, Helen, I'm having trouble here. And she pointed out that that's what I was doing, walking to mommy's room where I'm not supposed to be, or something to that effect. And it passed. And I enjoyed looking at your clothing. I think you wore this to your wedding, and I remember you wearing this to one of your other workshops, and I had no idea you had this many tops. I've never seen them. And I walked out, this sounds silly, I'm 60 years old, but I walked out and said to Helen, I feel like a big girl now. And I realized in response to what you just said is that I still haven't written this to everybody, but that I certainly didn't take advantage of what you had to offer because all my attention was on you helping me. And in that set, and in so doing, I kept you from doing more and offering more to everybody. And I missed the opportunity to be a partner with you. And so it was totally me-based. And as a result, I didn't ask for what else is possible here. It was, what can you do to fix me? So that's what I realized. And I can walk in your room and start putting your clothes away. Like, wow, this is fun. I miss you, though. I really do miss you. And this is another thing about asking is you sit around the room at each one of us. And I felt that you were connected to me. And I realize now I have to bring something more forth, bring forth something more, which is to come up and talk or speak and connect with you that way, rather than passively receiving and wanting more of that.
Yeah.
Bring your gift.
Wonderful sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it dawns on me, I could have managed to be up there, or yeah, up in Basel if I had planned it differently. Because I have to leave my house now to go to a wedding, to play for an event, but I could have left from up there just a little bit earlier. Never occurred to me. So that's some of my distancing way of handling things.
But there it is. The recognition allows for the change.
Right.
That's one of the things I love about the stream. We don't Pollyanna anything. We acknowledge what is and what we could do better. And we say, yeah, let's do it better.
Right. And next time I might ask somebody, do you see any other possibilities?
Yeah, what a great idea.
So I'm sorry I have to leave, but thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Love you, Amy. I mean,
Take us with you.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
I love the question that Amy raised, is what else is possible?
Yeah.
What else is possible? How many of you have watched Madame Mazurka's video on love and passion?
On what?
Love and passion, increasing love and passion. Okay, Chris, Helen, Christine, Erica, and Bob and Carol.
And also
And-
Richard and.
Oh, and Richard.
Helen.
The only person I've heard from is Christine. One of the things that happened in that video was such a strong connection between Madame Mazurka, who of course we know is me, although we don't say that publicly, and you. And I didn't get any, I didn't get any feedback from anyone, so I'm just wondering why.
It's on my list.
All right, thank you.
There's a link. Christine sent us an email as a follow-up from the Wednesday call.
Can you go up to the microphone?
You can get it on, just go to lifeconnectionmagazine.com.
You can get it on liveconnectionmagazine.com, and also Christine had a follow-up to the Wednesday call where she sent us a link.
And also,
I started watching it and then I turned it off. I'm just like, I think, I need to be prepared to be present. You know what I mean? It's not a multitasking event. It's like, you gotta be present.
yeah, it's not the radio show, it's the video. And by the way, you can also go to YouTube and Google Madame Mazurka, and it'll come up. I mean, on YouTube.
That's fun. That's cool.
So you see, there's a way we can stay connected. When I do these videos, I don't know who I'm talking to other than you. It's probably not that many.
Well, you can see how many views it has.
Not too many. We are doing another show. Madame Mazurka wants to do another radio show on April 15th. She wants to come back and talk more about how to increase love and passion. She said that she had made this video and that it was now available, and people were clamoring for more, which is obviously a lie. But Madame Mazurka is allowed to lie, and I am not. I think all of you know that. I am Madame Mazurka. I mean, Madame Mazurka is me with a scarf, a different one from the Guru. The Guru has a turban made with a scarf, and Madame Mazurka has another kind of scarf. Yes, Roz.
So a lot of things came up for me today. So the first thing is I'm definitely aware of how much I focus on the negative. Ever since I left my session on whatever day that was, Wednesday, pretty much been in the negative. Even though really the session was it was really great, because it was much of it was an acknowledgement of how far I've come.
So got clear that I am staying at Ryan Young, and that the last 5 months or so has really been a journey for me of evolution and of I don't know, becoming freer, becoming more of an adult, becoming more connected to myself, less merging with others, and an acknowledgement of how much I want connection and how much I've also feared it, feared being alone, and how much what the next level of mentorship could look like for me, not only at Ryan Young, but also here in the stream and with Beth, and that's the piece that I hadn't really used her for. There was a very basic level where I've always been looking at how can I learn from her. But the piece that I hadn't taken advantage of is how I could learn by engaging more with her. And so that's something we discovered in the session. And that is just something that I can take on more in other areas of my life as well. We really distinguish that me staying at Ryan Young is an opportunity for me to be groomed to take over that company someday. And oh yeah, well I think I shared about it on the call, but that the owner Tara gifted me 10% of the company. She offered to give me 10% of the company, and that she is looking to groom me to take over someday and to be a partner with her daughter and possible future son-in-law. But that's what she's looking at. And that is an honor.
Yes.
And
Recognition.
it's an honor, it's recognition, but it's also excitement about what is to come, the new possibilities. So, but what I was left with was what I was perceiving as negative, is that I now have to decide whether or not I'm going to stay here in Bonsall or not. And that I don't want to look at that. I don't want to have any conversations about it. That somehow I can just continue to manage the status quo. And seeing that as a negative rather than the possibility of what could come out of a conversation with Annie and I. In my own, acknowledging my own vulnerabilities and senses of vulnerability, as well as, just getting clear about how can I still maintain the connections and develop the connections, whether I'm physically here or not. So that's one really big thing. And underneath all this, I do feel the excitement of, wow, what else, what is to come? What is life going to look like? What are the new challenges that I'm going to experience? What are the new things I'm going to learn? But how much that gets suppressed by the negative conversation of, I can't go towards someone, or whatever the thing is that's coming up for me that stops me from really connecting on the level that I know I can and want to. So, yeah. And so yesterday when I was over at the house packing up, what I was present to, strangely enough, I wasn't present to you not being there. Like, I was just present to the movement. Like, let's just get it done. Let's move on to what's next. Yeah. It's like, what's going to happen when we sell this house and we now start doing workshops in other people's houses? And I drove by this building yesterday that was in Hillcrest, and and it was this open, cool storefront that had a live workspace. And I'm like, wow, that'd be really cool to hold sessions down there and do chanting, and I could live upstairs and just not necessarily wanting to move, but just the different ways that we could expand and where this could go.
Yeah.
So that's really what I was present to, and I was so tired when I left there last night, but felt so much got accomplished. It just felt good to check stuff off the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. All of that is going on right now. So that's what I'm doing.
Yay.
By the way, if you get your canned goods, and there's some snarky comments on the outside of the boxes about how many cans of Thai coconut milk you have, that was me. it says things like, yes, that's right. This entire box is Thai coconut milk.
It was probably on sale. It was probably on sale. Do you go through that stuff?
Okay.
I actually said that to her. I'm like, they've been using coconut.
I was asking, I brought this up. I was like, am I missing something? Is there like something special in Thai coconut milk, a recipe I'm missing? Anyways, there were 18 cans of it. I counted. Yeah. Then I was like, oh my God, there's Armageddon gonna happen in Southern California. Have enough cans to like feed an entire community for like a month. But so anyways, that was fun. So I think what I need to do is, I think it is time that I need to reach out to you again, to use what you have that I've tried to get from other places, but it's not coming. And, you know, I'm at a point in my career, it's like, I was in San Francisco last week, great new business meeting. It was so much fun with a potential client. And then in the afternoon went down to a client with my boss, had an amazingly productive meeting at a company that you've heard so much about that I've been ready to throttle. Like at the end of the 2-hour meeting, the three of us, the client we're working with is a client I used to have a long time ago that actually cried when I lost him. The three of us like raised our hands simultaneously and went, yay! Like we actually felt like we were accomplishing something. So we got out of there and my boss said to me, you know, I've been moving you off this account because you said you're done with them, right? And she said, but you let me know, like what do you want? And she's been saying this to me, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? I could see you doing this. And I'm thinking, oh, but then that went, like, I don't know that I think I've always like tried to figure out where can I be most useful. And if I did that, I would be most secure and of value. And that question, well, what do you want to do? It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to question, you know, like, because part of me wants to do new business. It's fun and it's creative, but that's an area where you lose a lot, you know, and you're definitely not billable and all of that. So I think I definitely need some deeper drilling in that area. So I'll be calling you now.
Oh, I'd love that. Go back to doing some consultation. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so odd that you said that because like 1 minute before you started talking, a voice said to me, you don't need new clients, you need people to be using you for the right things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fascinating. I love that.
I think I follow Christine because I related a lot to what you were saying. I feel a lot of the things everybody else has been saying. I feel regret over not taking advantage of all that you have. For me, when you were here, you know, mostly because of my fears of moving forward and my focus on being secure in life. And so I really related to what Kim was just saying. I was like, that's kind of like the focus, and I focus on that. I mean, and probably everywhere, but you know, in my career as well, doing as much as I can without threatening myself. You know, really like just always calculating, you know, the risks and my image and things like that. But I'm finding myself kind of being guided and even like pulled, you know, in different ways toward, like when you say, what do you want to do? I am starting to feel drawn to do more, but the more that I want to do is it was a lot more risky in the sense of like job security, different kinds of responsibilities. I mean, and before it's like, but I wouldn't even consider it before. So that's what's changing in me is like, I just didn't even consider it. Like, no way would I, why would I ever, threaten what I have here, with my job. It's like, this is secure, this is set, I'm good at it. Why would I ever leave that? But it's like, it's different now. And I'm starting to meet people who are doing more, and they're giving me that confidence too of like, wow, yes. And I talked to a colleague, she just got appointed to assistant principal, and she used to teach at my school a couple of years ago. She's very creative and innovative, and I want to connect to her more. And she was talking about she goes, wait till you see a big change that you make that's like school wide, or you help a teacher, she said, it's just like, it's so exciting. And she was just really full of excitement. And she's also been through, she's just been through a lot in her life in the last couple of years. So it was like, gave me a lot of like seeing in because I don't feel like super confident right now, but she, just kind of seeing myself in the future, she's like, oh, I just feel like I'm ready to go, and she said, and she's like, everybody thinks they don't want to do it. She goes, but just once you get into the program, I'm sorry, I'm not saying, I'm going to be starting a program in the fall for my administration credential. It's like I decided, so yeah, I went to a meeting about it, and so I was just kind of like connecting with more people who've done it, and feels like the right stuff for me for now. So I can relate to what everybody's saying. Like, there's fear and also it's excitement too. Yeah.
Wow. Spoken from our teacher of the year.
Yay.
Soon to be administrator of the year.
Why not?
I'm not sure why I'm next, but I feel like I'm next. And the phrase that keeps going through my mind, you're never too old to grow up. And I think I'm the opposite of the people who focus on the negativity. I think I focus on what's positive and ignore what's negative. And imbalance is imbalance, however you manage it. But I have felt so excited by this shift of our spreading out into different homes. And I think part of my excitement is not only have I not used you for what I really can use you for, I haven't used any of you. I've been so focused on maybe competition, I don't know what it is, but my excitement is seeing us as equals and recognizing, I think it is competition, recognizing like Rose today with the Life Force, and Chris, what you bring, and Roz, I feel I haven't used you enough, and Elizabeth is now moving the ligaments in my heart, or around it, just all of you. Helen has become so powerful on our call. It's just all of you have so much, and I am so excited about the shift that I'm experiencing in recognizing that just what you're asking us to do for you, we can do with each other also.
That's wonderful. Well, we are coming to a close time-wise. And unless someone has a burning need to share who hasn't spoken, then we can pull things together. But is there anyone who feels that burning need? Aha, there she is.
Before the deadline.
Well, I think the burning need is that I need to just put myself here rather than back there in the dark. When Todd and I walked the property on Thursday together, our opening was about acknowledging all of the many exercises. It kind of goes back to what Chris was saying, exercises in stewardship of the stream. And we've had so many opportunities to test those muscles and fall on our face and succeed. And through all of it, I think perhaps yesterday's work party, even though I wasn't there physically, it was really expressed in the gathering. And I really hope there was the love and support that you felt for each other there. It was my intention when I created the work party to have it happen in that way that the workshop happened that time, the Living with Reality workshop, when you had us all work together on different small projects in the house, but with complete intention and complete awareness of one another and how we were connecting or where we were disconnecting, and to just stay in that energy. So we have had a lot of exercises in stewardship. And this next incarnation of the stream is just its next incarnation. I'm fully on board with seeing us have different pods. In fact, you brought that idea forward, I don't know, many years ago. It was when I was taking care of Danny, and we had a meeting. That's why I know I was at that meeting when I was in that house, where you visualized many centers, and that we are a school. And it doesn't put any of us in that position of just being a teacher or a mentor. It relies so much on us cleaning up our own shit along the way and learning so much about ourselves in the process. And my folly this week was falling on my face and really learned a lesson about, I don't know if I could even name the whole lesson. I just had to fall on my face.
That you can fall on
Me
your face
too.
and we still love you.
That I could fall on my face and acknowledge that, yes, I do have an impact, as scary as that is. And as Chris really tried to support me with, I won't be kicked out of the tribe. But if I've lived in that fear all of my life about being kicked out of the tribe, of course I need that to come to the surface. More than anything. So. Yeah, do I love me enough to overcome my biggest fears, with your help, yeah. Thanks.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. It wouldn't have been a stream event if we didn't end up with talking about how we had fallen on our face.
Todd's going to be getting, so I can give the announcements really quick here. Because we do have upcoming events. We have a men's and women's retreat coming up over the next month, and both are on the topic of self-expression. Yay.
And do we know where they're going to be?
We don't know yet, do we? Where they're going to be. The men's and women's.
Can we have the men's retreat at your place, Bob? That's what we were thinking.
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we do this? So we need to put that on the flyer.
Yeah.
Well, I put a home in North County, so we'll give people the specifics when they register.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
But the women's retreat is, do we know where that's going to be?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
What about the women's retreat?
We don't know yet. Anne had volunteered. We just don't know how big the group is going to be and whether they'll fit. But she had volunteered for that, which is lovely. So, and then supervision. Next Saturday will be Christopher and Elizabeth's home. And then
I've already got they're coming out to look at my place and upgrade.
Helen is upgrading her internet, working on upgrading her internet. Sunday of CBC will be here. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like when you go to university and your classes are all in different buildings on campus, right? So you do have to pay attention to your sheet, whatever, that tells you your schedule, that tells you where to go for which class. But that information is available. So we are making that available. There's a lot of info also in the newsletter that Todd sent out yesterday.
Awesome.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. We have multiple contributors to that. It's so much fun. So there's a lot of info there. And then the women's group is also doing a performance of Mary Magdalene the Hilltop Center for Spiritual Living on June 7th. So we're continuing our outreach into the public, which is a lot of fun. And then, as Beth mentioned, the Madame Mazurka video, it's really good. Like what my comment was on it is I felt a lot of self-love. I was really surprised by that. I thought it was going to be something on old people having sex. I'm like, I'm gonna watch it anyway. I'm in my hotel room. There's nothing else to do. Yeah. I know. Yes, but no, I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling all this. I'm like, really, Madame Mazurka, I have to connect to you at the root chakra level. But I like feel all this like love. I'm like, oh wow, this is amazing. So watch the video and then Inside Out every Tuesday at 2 p.m. and we have lots of podcasts. Or 3 p.m. Sorry, lots of podcasts. Yeah, that explained a lot why, when I went on at 2 o'clock this last time, I was like, what's going on? But I figured it out. I went on at 3. Is there anything that I'm missing?
Please, if you like the videos, show it by putting in a comment, like it, share it.
Yeah. Yes, share it, like it, talk about it. And then reminder about the peer counseling program. We have folks available for counseling, peer counseling. So check in, are we using each other the way, we feel guided? And then if those who want to stay after to go next door to Release Stream Haven, let's do that. And importantly, we're a nonprofit organization, and so we function on donations. And part of what donations have been used in the past are like what we see here, the equipment that we have that are able, really enable us to connect to each other. So, thanks.
Thank you. Family group.
Fantastic. Well, I think we all know, but I would like to say it out loud, that the stream has grown enormously since we left for Oregon on October 19th. And, I'm impatient, and it's been uncomfortable and difficult and challenging physically to be here. And it's been very, very rough. And many of you know the details around our escrows have been so insane, especially the purchase. We had to fire our real estate agent. In order to do that, we had to drop out of escrow and take a chance on having to make another offer on the same house. And then our loan officer resigned at the last minute, even though we had less than 30 days to close escrow. It turns out we had nothing going on the loan either. So we've gone from stop to fast forward. But all of it really reflects the energetic inner conflict and that we've all been experiencing, and the opening and opening and opening of us seeing how much better we are now than we were before. And that's the most important thing, of course, to take out of this, is to recognize that through all this mess, because that's the way we are, we're the messers, you know, we don't have those kind of like absolutely cool transformations like other people talk about, you know, how everything magically falls into place. We have the mess that magically falls into place through our efforts and despite us. And now we're on fast forward. I mean, we have a crackerjack real estate agent, we have a crackerjack loan officer, and you know, everybody is a type A personality, and I get along with them really well. You know, we're all emailing each other at 10 o'clock at night, you know, to get this escrow done and for all of it to transpire. And it, you know, in theory, tomorrow, all of the contingencies on Streamhaven are supposed to be removed. So figure that'll be delayed a few days, but that, you know, as all becomes more and more certain. And this time, as much as I have resented and hated it, and it's kind of worn me out physically, has been so critical for us so that we can be ready, because we now are ready for what's happening on the outside. We have to be ready on the inside. That's the way it is, and I don't like it. And we're going to have a home, and the stream has a new home too, which is you, as well as us. And I go back to where I started today by reminding us all that the stream is a process. It's the process of becoming who we already are, and for that we need healing, training, and community. And we, by George, we've got it. And I love the honesty. And whether people come or they don't come, or, you know, it's the work.
Yeah.
It's always been the work. It's always been about the work. And so I think we should give ourselves, and by the way, I'd like to share that since you guys have been talking about yesterday's work party and the packing, and Helen has shared this with me before, I have had feelings of guilt about, oh, well, we never came back and you have to do all of this for us. And I, as you were sharing today, I thought, no, this is not an accident either. We were not supposed to be there. And I could never have come back anyway, but I mean, physically, but it was better that I didn't, because look at all the processing that people went through by going through this. And so I can feel real appreciation now that we're coming to the end of this process. Thank you, God. There are certain processes that I'm happy, like I'm sure that Erica felt that way about the bone marrow transplant, that it was fine with her that that process finally, you know, completed. Right. So, you know, some processes are more fun than others, but it's what we really did have all the elements necessary for us to go through the transition we needed to go through. And every day in the last 5.5 months or so, you know, I have awakened feeling all the conflict and the energy's pulling this way and that way. And I've been sick and weak and feeling shitty and then feeling good and then feeling terrible. And it's like up and down like a yo-yo. And of course I don't want that, but that's much the way it is. And, you know, I've tried to also learn something in this process, you know, to have the faith and to keep coming back to the work. Or coming back to the work, to the process. And I too am in the process of becoming who I already am. We are in an amazing time. As painful and difficult as our lives are and sometimes seem to be, We're in a time of tremendous growth and transformation. All of us, the planet, God. And we are doing our part and can feel good about that. Whatever we cannot do as individuals, we're doing as a collective. We have old ideas still hanging on about this is my responsibility. Like, oh, going back and packing is my responsibility. Well, we all know I couldn't have packed even if I was there. You know, that's a joke. But, you know, if, the more oneness we feel, the less we feel guilt, obligation, and resentment, because we see ourselves as an organism that is functioning at its highest level. And I loved what Irene said about everyone, you know, seeing everyone and gaining what we can from every one of us for the highest good of all. And so as we let go of the building Stream Haven, we embrace the process, the stream. And we continue to strengthen the community. That makes it all so much easier because we are not alone. Which doesn't mean I don't want to thank you for doing your part. Not for doing my part, but for doing yours. That enables everything to move forward. And we now also will have the Abbey. And what a beautiful place it is. Yes.
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 Love you all.
Is there a chant or something that we're supposed to go out with?
We're actually going to have some music in the background here as well. I don't know why. I just think it's very fitting to play right here.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not sure. I can plug it in. Yeah, it's got to turn up the volume. Well, actually, I don't know.
The title of this track is called Lovely Spring.
You see the wasps in the backyard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.